Okay, in this section we're going to be talking about backing up files on your computer. That's definitely a very important part of maintenance. You want to make sure that all your files are actually backed up to some sort of disk, either an actual hard drive or maybe an online storage resource somewhere. And that actually brings us into our very first topic, the types of storage out there, types of backup destinations, if you will. I think there's two common types. One is online storage or cloud storage. Cloud's really just kind of a buzzword, in my opinion, for storage that is provided from an online source, such as Google Drive would be an example, or also to OneDrive that's in Windows 10. There's also other paid-for online backup features, but you're talking about a monthly subscription rate or a yearly subscription rate, typically with those, where you get a lot larger capacity and you can actually back up to those. So today we're actually going to talk about just using limited free storage. And it's really just mainly online storage like Google Drive or OneDrive, but we're also going to specifically talk about backing up to a hard drive as well, or a removable hard drive. Let's talk about removable hard drives here first of all. So if you are going to buy a removable hard drive, you need to make sure you have enough, you get one that's large enough for the amount of space you need. Like for instance here I'm using up about 100 gigs, probably a little less than that actually, but so from right here I can kind of tell I really just need a pretty small removable hard drive, something around 100 megs if I wanted to back up all of the data that's on my C drive. So really I wouldn't need that large of a drive there, but make sure that you, whenever you do purchase a drive, that you get a hard drive that's anywhere from 1.5 to 2 times larger than the data that you have in gigabytes. If you you want to make sure that you have plenty of space for future growth, because you're probably going to get more files as time goes along. You want to make sure that you can get all those files backed up to another drive. And as far as just backing up your files or getting your files off of your computer, that's the main thing we're talking about here. You can also back up your whole system, your whole Windows environment as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first things first here, really the very most basic way that you can actually back up data is really just copying files. Like for instance, if I want everything, if I want my downloads or my desktop, if I just want to grab all those real quick and maybe put them on a drive, like let's say I want all my pictures, I could just go to Pictures, copy anything that I have right here, and really I can just go and paste it onto a removable drive. It really can be as simple as that, to where I'm just copying files from another source. Really, that's the most simple form of a backup, is just manually just copying your data. But if you do have Windows 10, there's actually a way that I would be doing this, and I would actually be going into Windows and using its inherent backup utility. And how you can get there is you can go to Settings here, and you can go down to Update and Security within Settings, and you will see Backup right here, and you'll see Backup using File History, to where you can add a drive. Just go ahead and add your drive, and here within More Options, you can actually see, if it opens, More Options. So right here under Overview, I can see my drive here, and you'll see that every hour I actually have this marked to back itself up and to keep all my files forever. You'll notice something else as well, that there's already predetermined folders, and a lot of these folders are going to be commonly used folders by most people who use Windows. You'll notice a similarity here. They're all under a certain user account. See users and then my user account. And that's actually the case with most people. Most files that they're ever probably going to manipulate or use, it's usually right under their username. Like I'm using the Ruben TT. folder right now, and most of these folders right here have most of your data, so that's definitely helpful to know. And I'm just going to run a little demonstration here. I'm actually going to take out videos because this one's quite large right now. But I'm actually going to run just a test backup here real quick, and backup options, and it should start backing up. And it's backing up all these folders, and it should be backing it up right to my hard drive, which is great. And you'll see right here there's going to be a file history folder. These two I just copied over here, so I'm going to delete them. That was just a demonstration. And I'll have file history right here that's actually going to copy where all the data is currently copying to. So this is definitely a very helpful feature here. Also too, if you ever want to just take this drive and maybe save it somewhere or give it to a well-trusted friend, that can be a good option as well, to make sure that if anything happened to your house, that your data is still safe somewhere. You can always get two of the removable hard drives and maybe swap them out every once in a while. What you could do is you could go ahead and stop using that drive and then take it over to your friend's house and start using another drive instead. And our backup should be pretty close to being done. We should be able to look at file history now though, and right here is my new example here. So you'll see data C users. I should be able to go onto desktop. You'll see right here it's actually backing up my data to the drive, so it's actually backing things up. So this is a pretty great utility to use. Just remember that Windows 10 does have an inherent backup utility, just a simple file system backup that can definitely help you out. Which of course, if you want these backups to run on a regular basis, you need to make sure the drive's connected at all times. So if you do have Windows 7, one utility that I actually use back in the Windows 7 days is actually use this backup maker. But this won't apply to most of the Windows 10 users, and I know the majority of us are Windows 10 users that were in the class, so I think I'm going to refrain from talking about backup maker, but it's very easy. It's a very easy utility to use. You just really just have to go through the prompts, and it'll tell you exactly, it will do exactly what you need to. It's really going to do a similar process to where you're just backing up whatever folders you select, and you can restore as well. So we've talked a little bit about file system backup. These are your personal files. As far as the whole operating system itself, so if your drive crashed, you may be in a situation where your drive's gone. So there's a couple of things that you can do if you ever find yourself in an event where all of your Windows is gone. What I would actually normally do is just reinstall Windows. I would just make sure to keep all my files on a drive, and usually just put in the CD and just reinstall Windows on top of it. As long as you keep your keys safe and your keys safe, your software handy, and your files onto a independent disk, you shouldn't have any problems with that. There is other methods of backing up as well, though. Like you can actually create a system image as well. For instance, if you look right over here, you'll see Go to Backup and Restore for Windows 7. And there's actually a way that you can make a system image file in Windows 7. And within there, Windows Backup and Restore right here. So you can actually set up a system image disk to where you're basically copying an image of Windows 7 onto that disk, and you can restore from that disk at a later time. You can also make a repair disk as well, to where if Windows becomes corrupted, you actually repair the disk itself, or repair the Windows operating system with that disk. So those are other options as well as far as restoring your whole Windows itself. Also too, just going through here, so So like I said, you can either just install Windows Fresh if you ever need to restore Windows, or you can make a system recovery image, just like the area I showed you. There's also two ways that you can make restore points as well within Windows, to where you can go back to another time where maybe Windows is running a little better. One thing to keep in mind on that is if your whole hard drive crashes, well, that's not an option, so you may have to go with one of these other options of maybe getting a new drive and installing Windows, or getting a new drive and maybe using that system recovery image that you can create within Windows. Just a couple of last things here to talk about, things to think about when backing up. Also, too, just think about files that are externally precious to you as well, like maybe family photos, very important documents. You may want to make sure that those are on maybe some sort of online storage like Google Drive, so that maybe just sync them up all the time with Google Drive to make sure that, if your computer did ever get blown away, or maybe your whole house got blown away, you'd still have this file safe somewhere. Whereas the hard drive is or it's pretty safe itself on saving files. Well, what happens if something happens to the whole room? I would make sure to keep my most cherished and precious files somewhere online. That way that I can always guarantee that's going to be somewhere other than one point of failure. Also, too, one thing to think of is, what's going to happen, or what do I need to do if my computer crashes? How would I can recover my files? So, one, making sure that all your files are backed up to a hard drive. That's definitely a good start. Making sure you have good documentation on your keys on your operating system. That's also a very good start as well. If we follow those steps we've already covered. Also, too, just think about how you're going to get Windows back, or you're just going to have maybe somebody just install Windows for you, or maybe you'd like to try just to install Windows new yourself. It's really not that hard. I think a lot of you can do that. That's one way of doing it. Just kind of, just have in mind, how am I going to get everything back if it ever did go away? And one last thing, too, the Red Cross actually recommends for you to keep any personal documentation, insurance information, anything like that, actually on a thumb drive, or maybe even an online drive, to where if a natural disaster did happen, like let's say a tornado hit your house, you want to make sure you have those files somewhere safe, like maybe on a thumb drive in a storm cellar, or at a well-trusted friend's house, or again online. Make sure you have those files somewhere else, because if there was ever the event to where your house were to be destroyed, it'd be very nice to get those files quickly to where you can start processing your insurance claim and getting relief quicker. So definitely something good to keep in mind as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this section on backups here, and this should conclude our conversation.